Hi, Sansan. So I am so excited today to have you here. Um, I know you're a therapist. I know you specialize in parenting, but there's so many ways to introduce you. So before we talk about the topic today, I just would like you to, say hi to everyone. We are also on Facebook Live. We have some people here on Zoom with us, and we're talking about a really fun topic, but one that is really, really serious at the same time. So,
Absolutely.
Sansan, I give it to you. I leave it to you to introduce yourself. Tell
Thank
us.
you. First of all, I really thank Raji for having me. It is a delight. And I hope that it will be also a very delightful and amazing, surprising experience for myself. I'll just shift and change the word a little. I introduce myself. My name is San San, and I think the big bulk of half of my life have been a parent, and I have two almost teenage years children. They are two boys, and I've also been a therapist myself, working with families. That's really an area of work that I felt very, very relatable and very close to my heart. So I don't absolutely go with the word like I'm specializing in anything, but what really delights me a lot this evening is the fact that Rajiv shared with me earlier on. It's like the idea of building a community together to be with parents, for me to learn with parents, people who are in the parenting space, to learn and to build this community of support, to raise a village, to help um, us raise children together. That's what really excites me. So thank you, and thank you, Raji, for the team, your esteemed team that's running the show behind you and me. Thank you very
No,
much.
it's an honor, Sansan, to have you. And there's so many. I love saying that you specialize in something, but I love the way you put the answer back and said, I don't only specialize in this, because parenting is one of those God-given gifts, right? That we all inherit when we're parents, and then we have to kind of learn our way, right? So I remember a conversation I had with some people recently, and in fact, I was on a show called Dad Enormous with JT, right, John Scott, and he was talking about how in parenting, we're not given a manual, right? It's like if you wrote the manual today on parenting, it would be outdated tomorrow because every case is so different and unique, you know. So today's topic is really, really interesting because we want to talk about parenting, and so many people, want to have this understanding of what perfect parenting is all about, right? So you'll hear the word, oh, perfect parents, right? Um, and I always love, learning from people, what is their impression of parenting, and some of the myths, I think, right? That
Mm.
what really is this perfect parenting that everyone expects to bring to the table, right? So let's talk about that. Let's start with this first myth of perfect parenting.
I think I like the idea. It's really common, and even as I was trying to pen a little letter, to reflect through my own experience as a parent, and to reflect through, what do I want to share, what do I have to share.
Mhm.
It got into that space of like, is there the idea of having a manual,
Right.
asking myself, is there another better way to do it?
Mhm.
Of course, constantly searching towards friends, community, books, that especially on how I could actually parent even better. But I kind of, through my own reflection, I kind of arrived at the idea which I shared in the letter that we might have probably posted in the media, social media, that ultimately the greatest way around it is the self-discovery of who I am as a person, as the parent. First,
Right.
myself as a person, and then as a parent. Yeah, more
I
so than the like, it's a myth, exactly, like there's no menu, because we can't contain the moment of parenting. Rajiv, you and I, we shared a little bit earlier on, like we're moving along with our children, we are moving along with ourselves, aren't we? Like we are changing all the time, and we hope to be better, we are evolving.
Right. I
Mm.
love what you said. There's a few things you highlighted here, which I want to put attention to. The first one is the person. Identify the person as the parent as a person. And then I remember you and I had a great conversation. We talked about even the child as a person. Let's talk about that. That's interesting. Let's go deeper into that for a second.
And I really thank you that the other day when we had a chat, you were really open, and I think what I wanted to highlight, I think we had a moment, where I brought this up, the way of looking at first yourself as a person. But I think I went ahead and I said, Rajiv, you have two boys and you introduced their name to me, Rahul and Rian.
Raul
Yeah,
and Rayan. Yes, that's right.
Rahul and Rian. And I think this whole afternoon I'm thinking about their name, but you know what, I can't say it beautifully, but the voice that you call them, the name, the voice stays in my head. And I remember asking you, and I ask every single parent, to be parent who are here with us live on the show, to just take that moment when I to bring up what I meant by the person of the child, is that you hold your child, how many child you have, and for you, Rahul and Rian, just take a moment to give each of them a moment, holding them in your head and holding them in your heart. Just that moment, and to bring your child into your mind, and this is
That's really beautiful. I I love that. It's Sansan, I know that you mentioned this earlier as well, but every time I do that, every time I close my eyes and I see them, um, you see the beauty of each person, and the gratitude that we have to have them in our life. Um, it's a very whole feeling to me.
absolutely.
I know that we have a lot of people on Facebook today. We have some people on Zoom, and I ask you to try that as you close your eyes and you see your child as a person in front of you in your mind's eye. And it's very interesting because Sansan, what I see when I do that is I remove the perception of what I think of the child. Usually when you recollect any person, you always think of them as your perception of that person. But when you stop your mind and you just say, the way you said it, just put your mind's eye to see Raul, to see Rayan, and you just see them as a whole and so much more. So it's such a gift as a parent to do that and to identify with the person as opposed to just the relation, right? So if I heard you right, it's acknowledging that person behind,
Mm-hmm.
the image of that
I
child.
would say that even when I do this for myself every moment, I don't do it all the time, but I remind myself as well. And I think what I come up with is sometimes it's just beyond words, that one small moment of pause where I try to just, like capture my child within my heart and my head. That's my word, to hold them in your heart, in your mind, and in your soul, even if you're a spiritual, person. And to me, it's that experience on its own is like beyond words, which would be really different if I were to say, Mary or Tom, tell me about your child, tell me about David, tell me about Sally, and we will have a lot of adjectives, we have lots of words, but I really encourage every parent to take moments like that. It's a very magical moment. All I want to say, it's beyond words. It's just a moment where you experience your child, and it's not the same as visualizing, really. It's just capturing that your child. And I think you use this word like you can actually feel. I'm not sure, I remember asking you, Raji, if you could feel that, right? Mm-hmm.
It's almost like capturing the essence of the person. What I love about this exercise, Sansan, is how for 1 second you remove a relationship and you just acknowledge mindfully a person. You know what I mean? And when you see them in your mind's eye, every feeling that engages, it's a very holistic way of encapsulating someone. I love it. It's so powerful. It's such a simple tool, right? We can do this, and you can do this with all your relationships as well, isn't it? You can see the person, right?
Absolutely,
That's really
absolutely.
beautiful.
And
That's
if,
really
even for yourself, I think we managed to, in our own little chat, I did invite Rajiv you to even imagine how your parent? You know, how do you imagine if you were doing this exercise with your own parent? You know, how does it feel for you to know, you know, that they are holding you in their mind, in their heart, which is something that, you know, I think I did share as well earlier on a few things that I've reflected, you know, to the little letter that I wrote, that, you know, we begin parenting not from the first day that we hold our precious one, you know, even our first child or our second child or our third child for the first time. Really, we first begin the journey of us being a parent begin from the first day that we ourselves are born as a person.
I really like that. You know, it's very interesting because, you know, that is really true. I mean, when do you start being a parent? Well, officially when you have your first kid, I guess, right? But the development to you as a person and how you care, it starts at a very, like you said, when you're born, you know, you come up with this, you come with the traits, right? And which brings me to the next point, because it's a great point that you brought up last time as well. And this was about, you know, a lot of parents, you know, feel that when they're parenting, they want to spend more time with the kids, right? And we've had this discussion where they'll spend time, but they're distracted with their phones, or they're doing something while the kids are in the background, you know. And even though they've set some time aside to be there, they're really not there, right? And you said something really interesting to me. So would you like to talk about that, about the person being there? So let's talk about that. That was a very interesting point you made.
Okay, I think I was refreshing. I'm trying to pull that out, but I think I was saying that, you know, my children have to correct me when I set a house rule and I said no phones at the table. And they were the one who actually corrected and said that, Mom, you're the one with the phone. And also there are another moment that I brought up to say that I didn't realize I'm frowning. I really have all this, I'm frowning when I pick them up from school. Just moment, you know, the first moment I see them after a long day. And because I have almost like, they're quite big, they're 18 and all that, especially my 18, he's very articulate and sometimes really painfully blunt about the way that he reflect, you know, our moments, our relationship to me. And I think the way that I am experiencing parenting really, and I want to qualify, is I felt totally unqualified to be here to talk to any parents about parenting. And the only thing that, you know, that I feel good about being here is that I have learned it like the hard way. And I'm very, very grateful to my children who are teaching me how to be the parent that maybe they want, or I might have already gone past whatever that they need of me. And all I want is to be able to share, you know, like share from my mistakes, share from my own reflection. And, you know, and definitely because of the training as a therapist, counseling, and the whole development idea, you know, as a human, that really adds a lot in the way that I'm able to look back at things and kind of understand it with a different flavor. And that's what I, you know, I bring on to, you know, may I say, our little village here. And I love the saying that, you know, it takes a village to raise a child. And
right.
Yeah, I'm very heartened. I can't really see who is online with us, but really I'm here to, you know, to be blessed, to receive you know, questions as well as sharing from people on their journey. Then we hold on to each other, we learn from each other. I think that's what, I
So Sasan, let me elaborate on a few things you mentioned right now. So one was about the perfect parenting. You said, you know, even though you're a therapist and you are a parent, you learned your parenting through experience, and that's the first thing that I always say is a perfect parent is bringing your truth, sharing your truth to the relationship, doing it your way, right? And as you learn and experience parenting, you know, you do the best that you can. You bring that to the table, right? And that's through your own experience, through your own truth. You set your example. So a lot of parents put pressure on themselves that they have to be perfect in a particular way. But the truth of the matter is, every situation is different. There's so many things you can do to make your relationship better. Of course, we all can. We can all learn. We can take tips from each other. And this is why these discussions are so powerful. So your experience as a parent, as you learn and you grow and forgive yourself, right? That's one. Two is also what you spoke about, being a therapist, of course, there's techniques you can apply, which today you can share with us. That always is welcome. But last time you mentioned something very important is, when we spend time with our kids, and going back to that point of when you're spending time with your children, to really bring yourself there. You mentioned this really powerful point, which I remembered, and I kept that in my mind. I said, we have to tell Sansan to share this as well, because it's so true, Sansan. A lot of times, when we set time aside, when we are distracted, we're not fully there. So when you can bring yourself to that moment as a parent, it's so powerful, right? The experience is magnified by the children, right? And the relationship, the bond, regardless if it's 18 or in my case 5 and 8, right? You still have to give yourself in full, right? Which is something you had mentioned. Would you want to expand on that a bit too? Because you said it so beautifully.
I think I said it in that frame of, as parent. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought I started off with, I think you asked me before, how do I imagine parenting to be before I was a parent? And yes. I didn't actually answer you directly, but I had a thought about it, and I said, nothing much, Rajiv. Like, I don't know what I'm up for. I have no idea. And, I navigate through colicky child. I actually have to be on the highway, and emergency vehicle got to come carry me away because my car is there and my son's crying and I can't handle it. I have been through all these moments. And to sum it all up today, if there's one thing that I can, share with parents all together with me, which I'm learning, it is an art to know who you are, and we are always on that discovery. So you see, it shifts all the time. Like just when you think you got it together, either your child grew up a little bit, or you discover a new side of yourself, or you've got a challenging situation that draws another side of you out. So these are really not static moments, but they are so dynamic and so changing all the time. But ultimately, I feel the gift really is at each point in time, the greatest things that a parent could give to a child. It's really not about the education. I'm not saying these are not important, because I went through all these and say, which is the best school, which is the best tuition, what is the best toy, and where is this best holiday that Sansa never been. I want to bring my children, see that. I think they are all good. And to me, it all boils back down to the love that we have for our child. And if I can only say one thing, then I said, the best and greatest gifts and thing you could give to your child is really the person that you are at each point in time.
That is really beautiful, Sansan. I really love that. It's so true. It's so true.
And if we could hold that, just let me finish this part here, Rajiv. Like, if we could hold that together, I said that not as it is an end, right? Because I change and you change. Right? When your boys grow a little bit older and you were sharing your experience with your nieces who are like young adults, it's very different. The demand that they require out of that parental relationship, it changes all the time. And ultimately, I don't have to be the perfect gift. I really don't like that pressure. I think for parents, quite a common feelings we deal with are fear or guilt. Yes. We always hit that two spots. I think, again, we cannot expect every day to be a beautiful, happy day. But all I want to say is, I think you brought the word forgive. And I would just say that, daily remember to be kind, to be gentle to yourself. Because when you know who you are and you know where your weak spots are, the vulnerability that you were so brave to share with me, Rajiv. As a father, you can say more about that. I think it's beautiful to bring that up because you are a father. And, but I say that, so the ultimately is a slow realization of who you are. What are you bringing? We say, what do you bring to the table? I bring Sansan, and Sansan 5 years ago, Sansan now is different. So I didn't meet exactly my children's need because I share you the blunt, painful feedback. But I thought the best that I could have done. Again, I'm happy to hear from everybody else who gave me other tips on how I could manage this, is to humbly accept it and tell them, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize that. That's also a conversation I had with Nisha, who's an adult child. And she really affirmed me to say that we just need the parent to receive the feedback. I mean, if I'm going to give feedback to my mom, I'm not expecting her to go back into the past and do things that she can't do for me anymore, but really to just say, Mom, you know, I need this from you then, you know, or now. And just listen to our children. I mean, if the children are young, that's fine. And that's why I'm saying it's a constant, it's the parent taking the leadership, the onus to know who you are. And then you
Yeah.
bring that to the table.
I
Yeah.
mean, what I'm
Right.
hearing is what I'm hearing there is also a setting of expectation, but it doesn't sound like what you're saying is it's only one-sided. And that's what I love about what you just said. It's setting of expectation, but setting it from both sides. Children also can set theirs. And we, I mean, so that's one thing you said, which I think is brilliant. You know, and sometimes it also brings us to so many points. I have so many questions, by the way, popping up on screen. So I'm going to steer us to a few questions so you can answer a few. But in one of the points you spoke about generation, there was a question here on generation. You said, or the question, in fact, let me read the question to you. It was about, here we go. How do you think people from our generation would take parenting? So here's the question. First of all, there's a question on Generation Z. What are your views on Generation Z? Yeah, which then I can expand out to, you know, with different generations, parenting has been handled in different ways, right? And if we were to look at it now, from this point in time, now we know the new generations are coming in, you know, kids come with different set of expectations, Sansan, you know, so they're exposed to so many different things. I mean, there's questions on social media here, so I'm trying to kind of bundle it together for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's address that. I mean, so question would be, how as a parent in today's world, you know, having seen maybe how different generations before us have parented, what have we learned from that we can maybe now do, you know, differently, that can help us move things forward? Also, because the children that are coming now from different generations have so many different expectations also now. They come with such a different set of rules, you can say, right? So how do parents manage that?
Okay, let me attempt to answer it. And I want to clarify, I don't come from Generation Z, so I'll try to, you know, kind of envisage. Yeah, I am a much older person here. But my answer is, I keep it short and I expand on it. The person of the parent, and my response would be what comes from within, what comes from without.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll say a little bit more. What comes from without is the external, the past generations, the different ways of parenting, you know, the wise woman's, you know, the tales, and what are the myths, you know, that we get taught, you know, everything that the books, media, and whatever that we can gather information, input, right, on how we could parent, including our own parents. We might have, you know, our grandparents being in the same space and helping the millennials' parents manage their children and all such. This is the without. This is from the external. And then what is from the within? That is the person of the parent, like I said. There will be too many things on the without, Rajiv, if you follow what I'm saying. Like everything we can, there are information overload. There are too many gurus and people who
Yes.
you know, as long as we are a parent, you know, we can sit down, we said that to each other before, we can sit the whole day and we talk about parenting. So it's such a vast topic, and that's so much information, be it culturally or just information. But then what, to me, my question and my response would be, what comes from the within? What matters most to, let's say, if it is Julian asking this question, then I say, what is the most important thing for Julian? You know,
Right.
go within yourself. Like what is important to Rajiv, right? Go within. And if you said, I think you shared me before, even this thing about tears and being
Yes.
strong as a man. So this is important. But then you see other people can say things like, and I ask you permission to share this. And you know, other people can share idea like, you know, for a man, you're not to cry because you need to be strong, so there's no tears. But you know, Rajiv, I heard from you, which is so empowering, and which is, I think, what you set yourself up to do, empower people. There is really no right and wrong. And Rajiv, you shared with me, you know, there was this moment where you found your tears, you know, and
Absolutely.
it's so empowering, and that's so human, that human side of you. So again, I use that as an example to say, yeah, from the without, there's ideas about how do we raise boys to be men, and you know what are the values, what virtues important for you, being strong and whatnot. But on the other side, it is why does it matter? Because whatever matters to San doesn't exactly will matter to Rajiv. So again, I go back to the person of the parent and to say what is important to you, then you are able to then match the within and the without, and then work on it.
So Satsan, with your permission, can I summarize that a bit so that we can bring that circle home for that answer? What I heard you say is that there's so much information. So with generations of the past, there was so much that was passed down, right? There's so many traditions, like we spoke about. Maybe men were very firm, and they wouldn't show as much emotion, right? I shared a story with you recently about how when I had my son, we had such a journey, right? We had such a tough journey having our children, and finally, when we were given the gift, and we had them, I remember the day he was born, and I held him in my arms. All this emotion came out because I was holding it in, and it was the most beautiful gift. So it makes you understand that all the things that maybe generations passed on in the past, they had their reasons, because tradition may have been that way. But today's generation expects more transparency, more trust, and when we build it up in a situation where we can, like you said, show the person within, and go holistically, so the kids know who Rajiv or Sansan is, then we also give them the permission to do the same and show up that way in the world. So if you remember, you and I spoke about, a child, being able to know, or a parent being able to share, failures and successes, right? So they learn from not only your strong moments, but from the moments that maybe even not so strong, so that we can learn from challenges together. But when you are able to open up and share, you also invite the child to then, as a role model, do the same. So you role model it so the child can go, Papa, I feel this way, so you open and invite that. In fact, there's a question right now: how do parents reach out to their children, and have a talk with their children, to share their hopes and expectations, and don't, without intimidating them, right? So along the lines of what I'm talking about, this kind of fits into that question. And I think the answer, Sansan, I would love your opinion on this, but as I was saying, is when you role model this, and they see that, as a human, Papa and Mama are humans. You know what I mean? They have moments of success. They have moments where they're not so successful, right? And when we share this as a parent, we're giving them a permission to experience, and to realize that there's nothing to fear. Life is a learning. Life is an experience. Life is beautiful.
Beautifully said. Yeah, Rajiv, beautiful. The word is permission. I'm hearing, I'm picking it up, and I want to amplify permission. And I think I keep saying the person of the parent, and you are both a success, and you also have your failure, and you have many of course many other sides of yourself. And a very long time ago, I just say it can be as small as this. I have a friend before, and they says, I never allow my children to eat Maggi noodle, and then but she says I eat it myself after they go to sleep. Okay, so again, this is a very small habit, but I'm putting it, juxtaposing, putting it next to your idea of failure and success. If you only talk to your children about success because you wish for them success, don't we not? Me too. But and we didn't tell them about, we forget, or we think that's not important about the failure part. They don't see the whole self of daddy. And in the light of sharing with them failure, which is not a glam story, yeah, it can be difficult, but you are imagining how much of the strength you're actually and resilient you're imparting to your child. And a lot of the time we kind of just overlook that, and we said, no, it's not nice, because again, sometimes those moments we have in our life, they are very difficult moments for ourselves, and we can't articulate, we can't bring this up, which is, I think, the other parent, again, I'm not sure exactly what space they are saying about bringing up ideas about dreams, expectation, or, that really would like you to be like a doctor like myself, or I wouldn't want you to be as lowly educated as myself. I wish that you could go further up, from tertiary and all that. So I think those are conversations. I think one of the things is I bring up this point that we need to remember the leadership of the parent. So as like leaders, you are there to lead your child. So go ahead and take that space of so-called authority. Again, it doesn't have to come with a loud voice.
Right.
Authority can be taken in a very just subtle, right? But you
In a
have
loving,
maintained.
in a loving and firm manner, right? Is what you're saying.
You maintain, and I leave it to everyone to manifest authority in your own way. But again, that leadership, so you could take the conversation, and I mean, we say a lot in therapy work, open conversation. Hi son, dad really want to share with you, or mom, let's share with you, my idea about your choice of subjects, what you're gonna do in uni and whatnot. Open the subject. And bring in the element, like I said, the child of the person of the child. Look at your child and pay attention to your child, and don't forget to listen to your child. And again, this can be pain moments again, because a lot of the time we bring all these, like, why do I think I need my child to go through university? We usually have a very good reason, and sometimes it's more than just a head reason, it's a heart reason. It's an emotional space. And so imagine if our child said, no, I have really hurt children, I give it to them. They actually said, I want to be a bus driver, and truly, what is wrong with that? It's a very dignified job. But a lot of us, again, let's be real. We will tend to flip. I mean, like, maybe I'll flip off my chair and go like, of all things.
So can I interfere? So sorry, I'm interfering for a reason, because this is a great time to now have an open conversation with our guests too, because this topic is such a beautiful we can take so many directions in this. In fact, I'm going to ask all our guests now to come on so we can have them live on Zoom with us. And also, I invite everyone on Facebook who's listening to this conversation, pop out some questions on what we're talking about. There's, some of the things that we've discussed today speak about, perfect parenting. Is that really a myth? It's really showing up as your authentic self, being as, representing yourself in your own truth. And that in itself is imperfectly perfect, right? As a parent, showing up as the person and identifying your kids as the person behind that relationship. It's so powerful. Also sharing your strengths, your weaknesses, so that, you give them the permission for them as well to understand that, life has its ups and downs and you can learn from them, so you don't build up the pressure, as someone asked in the question, the pressure that kids may be going through. So these are some of the things that we can do as parents, start looking at more holistically as well. So as we have our guests come on Zoom, and I know that I think Nisha is also there. We have some other speakers who are going to join us. Let's add this element. Hi, Nisha.
Hi.
So let's add this element, Nisha. So as you've been following the conversation, let's add this element where Sansan was saying, with this built up with the different generations, and with there was a topic that you mentioned, Sansan, earlier, and I want to elaborate on that as well, with the different generations as well. There's a lot of times when nowadays kids can teach parents, right? Sansan, you mentioned this earlier, and you said, there's within and without, and when you present yourself holistically, then even kids can be very blunt, and sometimes they can teach us a lot more than we know. So sometimes I say, parenting, we have a word for when parents teach kids parenting. What's the word for when kids teach us parents? Do we have a word for that?
We can throw that out to our audiences and hear from them.
I would love to hear that. Nisha, what do you think? What would be an answer to that?
I don't have a word answer to that, but we'll have a think. I'll get back to you. But I do have a question, actually. And I think it ties up what you were talking and Sansan were talking about. As the generations have changed, the way parents engage with their children has changed. And I think I've respectively had conversations with both of you. And I was just curious, how can, as parents, you create an inviting space for children to share their expectations and their hopes in a way that doesn't intimidate them? I'm asking this question so that we can share this information with parents who encounter this video, on how they can start doing some of these things, inviting that two-way dialogue with their kids, because it is not something that we're normally used to doing. So either of your input on this would be great.
Sansan, you want to take that?
All right. I think in one word, I tend to go with many words, but in one word, awareness of the space in between the two person. So the one word is awareness. So how do we take a conversation? Like you see, because it can go so many ways, it can be so complex. But I just open it up to explain what I meant. What I mean. That is, if this conversation is in any way challenging or going towards a challenge, or even if it is a very pleasurable conversation, hold yourself and your child and bring that awareness to the conversation. So you are paying attention not only to the words, but really to the space between here, because we can easily say some things that the other person don't understand, or it gets a bit difficult, or the other person actually responds something that we cannot understand or we do not accept. So the whole space is to bring that awareness into it to help you to navigate that conversation, whichever conversation you're taking. That's my take. Yeah, Rajiv?
I love that. I think awareness is such a big point here. To just be here, be there and represent that authentically. Very well said. Absolutely.
Any thoughts on your end, Rajiv, on how to invite conversations with children? Because I know you have little boys, so I was wondering, have you ever tried doing things like this, and how does it work?
It's really an interesting topic, because I see that a lot of times it's trying to find the little areas of interest. I see a little kid joining us.
Both us has to start the video.
Hi. So I was going to say that I always find ways that I can get them interested in the topic we're going to talk about, right? So I think all parents have their own little tricks, right? And I love that. And I think it's the most creative you can ever become is when you're a parent, because you find little ways to get them, into the moment. But for us, I always find ways to, get them interested about the topic I'm going to talk about, so that they participate with excitement, right? I think the experience that I saw, with maybe learned even from my own as a kid, was, when someone brings something on you, a topic that you may not be interested in, you're always like, can we finish? That feeling. So it's when you invite the excitement. So awareness is big. Bring awareness to topics that you want to talk about, but also get it. Even if it's something that may not be a very positive topic, find a way to lighten it up. Find a way to bring it to the table where they feel like they are, they can participate. And a lot of times it's not talking down to them. It's allowing them to just say what they have to say. What's your opinion? And really listen, actively listen, Nish. It's really, really big.
Yeah, definitely the listening is, we're supposed to listen twice, right? And speak only so 1 mouth and 2 ears. And I think I throw in a few words like, to be genuinely interested in the child. Sometimes we are too tired or we are not in that space. Again, it depends whether it's a easy conversation, a delightful conversation, or is it a hard conversation? Where are we catching each other? Again, the awareness. But if it is, absolutely, I think, for Rajiv, because children are younger. So I think he is being the parent and he's seeing his child at their age, kind of maybe who they are. It sounded like Rajiv understand what his children need from him, that he's delighting in them and creating that fun environment. And then it can shift, right? For me, it can be adult children. So I'm the one who want to talk to them, but then they are the one who doesn't want to talk to me. So what I have to find moments that I could talk to them, can't take out toys and can't show funny face, doesn't excite them anymore, Rajiv. So it's quite different for me on this side in Singapore. But I think ultimately is to be able to tell initiating is of course one space, but the moment the conversation is initiated, is to be interested in the other person's opinion or responses, listening, very great skilled, and showing up, right, being there. And and especially, I don't mean to be too harsh about things, but I feel that good conversations are easy, but it is the hard conversation that we are always finding that challenge. So I like kind of go into that space and say it is when a conversation gets so hard and it's challenging, emotions are flying out the roof.
Yes.
Very important to pay attention to what's going on within you, and again, in noticing and attending to your child, even if it's an adult child, his feelings and emotions and whatever he's saying, it's still require the parent to pay attention to.
Sansan, I love what you're saying, and I can I add two more points to that. I'd say, you know, what you're saying is absolutely right, and at the same time adding checking in regularly. So a lot of times these conversations don't happen because the permission has not been given. We're not inviting a conversation. You know, a lot of with all the kids. Like I told you, I have a nephew who's 21 now, right? I know the conversations are different, but you know, it's at that age, it's almost a role reversal, Nisha, where you know they need to know that they have the permission to share as much as you want them to be interested. They want to know that you're interested. So it's inviting them. And I'm Sansan, as a mother of an 18-year-old, I'm sure this applies to you as well. Is that you know at certain point in time as they become teenagers and they grow, they start to feel that mom and dad don't connect or understand what we're going through. So at some point in time, maybe because things have changed, and so it's just giving them that permission to say, yeah, you know what, we you know we do understand what's going on, and we're willing to learn. You know, we're open to learning. So creating that open space. Sansan, a great thing that I heard from a friend of mine who has older kids was, you know, he creates a space, Nish. He creates a space where they can have these kind of conversations, and they allow for the conversations to take any direction, right? So that you have to say what you have to say. Emotions are there, but you allow the emotions, you know, express through it, and everybody is given the opportunity to share. And I think that's really nice. I liked that. I think that was really a brilliant way of handling it.
Yeah. So inviting, I think what I've got from both of you is the essence of this is you have obviously a different age group of children. Sansan, you have a very different age group of children. What I've noticed about both of you is you figured out what works with them. And I think this is a message there for all the parents tuning in is try and figure out what is going to work best with your child. And obviously, it's sometimes you have to have those difficult conversations. Then, you know, the first time you try a conversation, it will fly off the handle maybe, but then you learn from there. You come back and you see what works, what doesn't work. I'll say this from a kid's point of view because I don't have children, but I can tell you the reverse because I've attempted conversations.
Let's pause for a second. I'm gonna say real quick. We gotta say bye to everyone on Facebook.
Oh yes, of course.
We're gonna quickly say bye to everyone on Facebook. But before saying bye, I want to just leave a thought, Nisha. I love what you just threw out there. Two things I would ask everyone who's on live today to share with us is one, when kids teach parents, what can we call that? Let's give it a name. It'd be fun to see what name we can give. And two, what is your take on parenting? I mean, it's a journey. It's your truth. You know, there is so many things that you have created that have worked for you. Share it with us. I would love to hear it. So maybe next time, Sansan, myself, Nisha, and everyone is on this chat can discuss and take forward. So from us here today to everyone on Facebook, thank you for being with us. Thank you for joining us. And
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we can continue.